Hey, Tyler, can you hear us?
Yes.
All right, just a sound check. I'll call the meeting to order.
Wow, right on time.
What's that? Okay. So we have, is that a member or?
That would be me.
That's you, okay. All right, the time is 6:32 on October the 11th, and I'm going to officially call to order this meeting of the Hamilton Master Plan Steering Committee. Thank you all for coming. We do have a quorum. Sorry I missed last meeting. I had spent 2 weeks in Italy. Had a
Don't rub it
fantastic time,
in.
so I appreciate you guys keeping
Hard life.
keeping the ball moving and everything. So,
We held a vigil for you.
Did you
in
really?
your absence.
yeah, I almost didn't come back.
You missed all the action there nearby there.
Yes, yes.
Whoa.
So seeing no one in the audience, this would be the time for, any audience comments. Seeing none, we'll move on to approval of minutes. So is this accurate, this latest agenda I'm looking at? We have minutes ready for 9/20/23 and 1/27/23? Is there any more?
The draft spelled Tyler's name with an I and not an E, which I have corrected.
Okay.
And for those of you who caught that,
For which one, Jack? Are you talking about the 9:20? Are you talking about the minutes you did?
yeah, the ones I just
Okay.
did.
The only typo I saw
That's
was
a T on
middle
mine.
school.
2 T's there.
Did I-
Second
what-
full
did I-
paragraph.
Oh, I spelled
Hit line.
Patrick.
Okay, well, let's do this.
All right.
Can I get a motion and list out the dates, and then we'll have some comment on it?
Oh,
Yeah.
So, Rosie, do you know the dates that we're approving here? Are they the two that I mentioned?
Yes.
Why don't you make the motion?
Okay, so I move that we approve minutes. There'll be two motions for minutes. The first one is to approve minutes from 9/20/23, 1/27/22.
Okay.
Is there a second?
Wait, Rosie, you're saying that the number, are you reading off the minutes wrong, or are they?
No, these two, we're going to approve these 2 minutes, and then we're going to approve the others that were incorrectly year voted last time.
Okay.
So we'll start with these, and then I'll make
So
another
let's get
motion.
a second, and then we can have comment if there's anybody who
Yeah.
has edits on them.
So is there a second for the 9/20/23 and 1/27/22 minutes?
Second.
Okay,
Okay, Ted? Any comments on those two?
I just saw a typo in the second paragraph, fifth line, the reference to the middle school.
Which set of minutes?
Oh, I'm sorry, 9:20.
Okay.
okay, school, okay.
Did I mi-
A middle
miss that
school.
the other day?
You got an L instead of an O there.
Did I miss that on my,
Mm-hmm.
I guess on 9:20?
Yeah, down second paragraph, second to last line, row in that paragraph. Just a third word in.
And then what is the other one? Was there, it was Tyler's, spelling of Tyler's last name? Is that what somebody said? There was an I?
That was
Oh, I
correct.
fixed it.
Oh, you did? Okay, fine, okay.
And
So,
then there's another T on the end of my name, not E-R-T, but E-T-T.
I struck the wrong key.
It's okay.
okay,
Apologies to Mr. Reffett.
I'll
Okay.
soldier on.
T for tremendous. Is that what the extra T is for? All right,
oh,
so,
and you know what? My name is not listed as present. It says Vice Chair Rosa Kennedy called the meeting to order, but probably would be good to include my name in the present. Okay.
good catch.
You're calling the meeting to order? Yeah, okay.
Okay, yep. But just to make sure, okay.
All right then.
Okay.
So,
So I'll
As amended?
make those edits, yep. So, motion to accept minutes 9/20/23 and 1/27/22 as amended. And Ted?
Second.
Second, okay.
all in favor?
So
Aye,
and
those
5.
two sets of minutes are.
Okay, and then we just have 2 other sets of minutes. Now, the minutes were dated correctly, but we have so many years involved. When these minutes were posted on the agenda, we approved them as 5/20/22 and 6/10/22, when in fact they were 5/20/21 and 6/10/21. So I'd like to make a motion that we amend the dates, the approvals for those minutes.
So you move that we approve approve the minutes for 5/20/21 and 6/10/21.
5/20/21, not 2?
Yep,
They were
correct.
previously approved, right?
They were, but we approved them as 22.
Okay.
So we should just amend that.
And the second one,
6/10/21.
6/10/21. I'll second that.
Okay, super.
Any
And
further discussion on just a simple year date change? All in favor, say aye.
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 Okay.
Minutes are amended.
Okay, and I have just one more question about,
Sure.
this is a separate minutes that we're not voting on tonight, but just questions for the committee. So, on the dates of all the posted meetings, the 5/17/23 community meeting with Judy Barrett, she did a nice summary, and we have not read it yet, but I would like to add those to our minutes for next time.
Yes.
Okay, and then secondly, the community meeting summary from 11/13/21. We don't have that listed on our meetings, but it seems for purposes of completion, we should add those, that meeting summary to our minutes as well. And I wanted to see what the opinion was about that.
Yeah, no, I think absolutely. If we could circulate to the.
Yeah, we'll do
committee
with
members
both
the
of
two
them.
community
Yep.
meetings, and we'll approve those at our next meeting.
Okay, perfect. All right,
And just
that's
so Ted has, the dates were 11/13/2021, and what was this second?
5/17/23.
5/17/20.
And I will send out both of those. Okay,
Both were community meetings.
correct. There were summaries, yeah, community meeting summaries, and they're actually very good, very comprehensive, and I think they'll be very helpful to people.
Okay, good. Thank you for keeping up with the minutes, or like, we're biting into it.
We're
I
biting.
haven't seen the list yet and where we're at. but,
Don't look yet, but we're getting there.
yeah,
We're
appreciate all
definitely
that.
getting there.
Shall I, excuse me, do you want me to just make these corrections on this, or are you gonna pick them up from Ted on the next go-round?
The edits, I'll just do the edits, and I will just submit the minutes as edited, so I'll do that.
Okay, so I don't need to submit the minutes then?
No.
Yeah,
I'm
th-
just
th-
taking the notes of the minutes of the meeting, referring to these documents.
Yep.
Okay.
So, okay, yeah, Rosemary, if you can just, if you have any questions, I wrote them down, I can help you with that, but it's pretty straightforward.
Yeah,
Appreciate that.
sure.
Okay, so if that's it for the minutes, let's review the homework. Tyler, you want to just kind of set the stage for what was assigned, what we've put together in the template that's been aggregated, and how we can walk through it to fill in some blanks?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Bill. So, first of all, before I forget, just for the record, those meeting summaries are going to be included as an appendix with the plan. Just so you know. But anyway, so yeah, the assignment that I asked you guys for, if you recall, was a list of action items from previous plans. As that's the phase of this project that we're really trying to move into now, is trying to figure out our implementation plan with concrete action items. And so this is an assignment that we often ask committees to do, is to go back to not only the last master plan, but if there are any other recent applicable planning efforts, and see if any of the items from those plans are worth carrying forward. Just for the sake of continuity, if there was a gem in there that got missed over the last period of implementation, it's good to identify those and bring them forward. So I do appreciate you all taking a look. I've received I think the most, if not all, of people. So even if you didn't really come up with that much, there were a couple people I know who sort of read through and were just sort of like, I kind of don't really know what to say about any of this. That's fine. Just happy you took a look. But really the purpose of it, is like I said, to identify those things to pull forward. And, I guess it's possible that there aren't super high priority ones, but a few of you did highlight some potential items. So I was thinking what the most helpful thing to do would be. I mean, we definitely don't have time to go through all of these. That would not be a good use of our time. But we definitely want to discuss as a group which, if any of these were worth considering. So maybe I'll go through and we can just pull out the ones that somebody at some point, called out,
Tyler,
and only focus on those. Yeah.
Tyler, sorry to interrupt. Did you get my tardy?
I did. I admit I've not had time to read through it, but you got in just under the wire. Very, very good.
Barely.
Reminds me of some school days.
Yeah,
There you go.
6th grade.
Been there. Anyway, so yeah, let's do that. So Rosie, your comments are not reflected in the compiled homework folder. So
Okay.
if there's one or two in particular you want to highlight, you can flag me down. But let's just throw this.
Excuse me, where can we find that compiled document?
Oh, I can send that out. Bill, I think that what I sent you earlier, well, actually, no, don't use that because I'll add what Rosie sent me to it, and then I'll send it back out.
So
But
did this committee come up with the name of reports, the A column during the last meeting, or what was this? How did we come up with
no.
the categories?
we just combed through all of the plans we had access to and just pulled all the ones that were relatively recent and had clear action items
So did
to look at.
Use those.
Because Scott came in early on the HDC work and all that's been done there. I don't see that. I think, should we add that as a category, the Development Corp? I mean, Patrick, is there a list of things that, actions that have been done and we could put whys? I mean, that was his whole point when he came in that day.
It's somewhat incorporated into those goals. I found a few things that I could ascribe to the HDC and the things that they've done downtown. But, I mean, certainly not everything.
I just wonder what others think, if that should be its own section.
In that it's economic development driven, it may warrant its own section.
Well, that is a good point to pull from that. I think if I'm remembering correctly, their annual report, I don't know if they're like action items or like anticipated actions. There is something similar to like a list of actions in the back of that, I'm remembering. So we can take a look at that. And so this spreadsheet here is just for sort of us to work through, and some of these we might end up pulling forward, but this is just to get everything in one place and see, just so we can all take a look at it. But
Excuse me, Tyler, did you
Yeah.
compile all the homework, and is that in a document, or should we just be looking at the homework that we sent you? Is there a compilation
I've got compiled homework that I can share my screen. I will send that to you, but I'll add what I got from Rosie because I had started compiling it before I got hers.
Right.
Well, if you can send it to us right now, it would be
Well, he's going to put it on the
easier for me.
screen.
Well,
Didn't you say he's going to put it on the screen?
Oh yeah, I can also send it to you if that would be helpful.
Yes,
That's
I
fine.
have real difficulty seeing
Yeah.
the screen at that.
Or I'm happy to send what you
Yeah,
sent this
sure.
morning. It sounds like it might be dated, though, that's all.
Oh, well, the version, I haven't had time to add Rosie's yet, so what I would send is exactly what you have still,
Okay,
Bill.
I'll send it right now.
So, yeah, you can go ahead and forward that.
Okay.
Okay. So, too many windows open. What do I want to share? This one. Okay. All right. So we really like the stuff that
I sent it.
is marked as like, here, I could zoom in a little bit. I don't know how big this is on your screen. So what we're really looking for are things that have not been accomplished that might be high priorities to accomplish over the lifespan of this new plan. So, you know, if there was something that is, you know, let's find something from the last master plan that was, you know, maybe done, you know, consider adopting the Community Preservation Act. You did that. That's all well and good. That's a yes. That remains, you know, as a historical item that came out of the last plan. We don't need to take that forward. But, you know, something like here, I just picking this at random, not to say this is like the highest priority one, but I just saw no, not completed. And, you know, someone put that this could potentially be an interesting thing to move forward, this agriculture and equestrian committee. So that's sort of what we're looking to pull from this. So let me go through and see.
We did have an agricultural equestrian committee. It did meet a couple of times, and it hasn't met probably now in 5
I think I was on that
4
committee
years.
when I was on the select board, yeah.
My wife Susan was on it. Peter Britton was the chair. I don't know if there are any minutes submitted.
Well, given the goal of having trail access and even using trails for getting around town and to the commuter rail station, it might be worth exploring to revamp a committee like that. And I know the ECTA is really concerned about easements because I've been contacted about them. And obviously, the planning board is not authorized or have jurisdiction to act on the validity of easements. I mean, that's just not within our purview. But certainly, the one thing the planning board can do is if they receive any A&R requests or other applications that involve easements, we can attempt to give notice to any interested party who then would have the opportunity to evaluate whether they wanted to take some type of other appropriate action in some other forum.
ECTA does have a complete listing, I believe, of what do exist. And-
Yeah.
And so that would be the reference that you could certainly go to check. So the documentation certainly is different on almost every case, I think,
Yeah.
although they do have standard forms. And,
I think they have to be recorded to be valid,
well, I think most of them are. Most of them are in the deeds.
yeah.
Because otherwise they're not enforceable.
Right,
And
exactly.
so there's always the problem in some of the early days, they weren't defined probably as much as they should have been.
You know who works on that? Carol Lloyd.
Carol Lloyd is.
Carol Lloyd knows all that stuff,
Yeah,
yeah.
I've received emails from her.
Yeah, she's the trail guru, for sure.
But she's the one who does all the trail maintenance for ECTA.
Right, right. And actually, she told me most of them are licenses and not easements.
And I think they've got a lot of both of them, I think.
She had told me, well, that's what she had said to me, that most of them were licenses. So anyhow, that's just my 2 cents.
Okay, so something like this might be worth considering as a potential action. So just to fully like sketch out like the process of coming up with these actions, so we know where we're at. So we'll pull you know, useful ideas from the past plans. Then we'll have our community meeting coming up in a couple weeks. And the focus of that is going to be, you know, brainstorming, you know, with the community to try to identify particular actions that, you know, the residents who show up want to see. And then based on all of that, we're also going to, I think, do another round of interviews with some town staff to, assess like, the feasibility of certain things and get a better sense of what we might want to recommend. And then, based on all of that, start putting together like an actual draft implementation plan, obviously in concert with you all. So yes, anyway. All right, let's start at the beginning. So these are from most recent open space and recreation plan. Some of these are more general than others, and we can, like, for the master plan, we can workshop the wording on these. We don't need to adopt these like whole cloth, but identify priority parcels for protection, develop strategies for conservation, including partnerships and funding sources. Yeah, so that's like a little vague. We might want to be more specific, but that's like a good, a good direction for us to look. That's something that was, that's sort of an ongoing thing. So was it accomplished? I'm sure it was accomplished in parts, but that's something that, is ongoing. And at least one commenter felt that was a high priority. So we can take that and, figure out, some specific recommendations for the master plan. So work with the Community Preservation Committee on funding for acquisition and projects, work with local conservation orgs. Okay. Right. Not sure. Let's see. Is this a helpful exercise? I'm not sure we're really doing.
What I'm trying to do
anything related to
here,
this,
and sorry if, I wasn't here at the last meeting, so maybe I missed some, but I did read through it, and kind of the things I want to make sure we include. One is the HDC, which I mentioned too, but also, the creation of the Environmental Impact Committee, where at our last town meeting, it was voted in that by, I think, 2040, we would be net zero emissions by 2040. So I think we should speak to that somewhere. I don't know if it fits in these categories.
Oh, yeah, there's definitely going to be goals related to that. So, Bill, these are just, past actions that we can draw from. We're going to write a bunch of new actions.
Okay.
In all kinds of areas that, were not included in these past plans because they're newer or no one thought of them. And that is a great example of something that's come up in the town more recently, a new committee that's been put together. And I'm sure we'll have recommendations related to them, but you probably won't find them in here because these plans are all at least a few years old. This is just the first step in developing those strategies. If something is not here, that doesn't mean it's not going to be included.
Okay.
We just want to make sure we don't lose any of these if they're good.
And Patrick, have we run these through some of the departments or boards or committees, or should we, who worked on these past, to make sure we don't?
We've sent that to the various departments, but I don't have any responses back from people.
Okay. Is that something I can follow?
jog
You
them.
want to follow up? Should we have Joe look at it maybe, or?
I'll jog them.
I just think they're, I don't want to miss anything. I get it. Thanks for the clarifier, Tyler. So these are all more, things that are historical, although there's a lot of no's in here as well, right, accomplished. But, so they're still.
Yeah, and that's what we want to look at. Like, is there anything that was proposed, didn't get done, and is still relevant? There may be plenty of things that were proposed, didn't get done, and it's for the best they didn't get done.
Gotcha.
They're not relevant anymore. But, there's usually always a few things that are high priorities that slip through the cracks that we don't want to lose. And so that's really the whole point of this exercise. And it gets you thinking about goals in general, not goals, actions and recommendations in general as we get into that phase of the plan. And one thing that could be good to do with these potentially that ties into the public meeting that we're having is potentially if there are some of these that are good, that we like, that we could use them as like examples to get the public acquainted with the sorts of items that might go into a master plan and help with the brainstorming.
I think one thing that particularly strikes me as of immediate importance, the Environmental Impact Committee, is that now active?
Yeah, that was formed, I think, in January of this year.
Was it?
Yep.
Is it looking into the PFAS question of all this rug out there behind the high school? And groundwater? Because that's a major item, the Conservation
Yeah, I mean,
Law
I know they
Foundation
just-
has just come up with a whole dictum on that and saying, don't do it.
Yeah, I was talking with David Smith about that. He said he
Oh,
is.
that rock, I get it.
The,
I wasn't with you.
The health, the Board of Health is on that. I mean, he was talking about PFAS, and I haven't gotten a chance to follow up with him yet. But there's also the issue of, there's been a new VA study that absolutely confirms that PFAS has been known to cause testicular cancer.
Well, the Endocrine Society, my husband's an endocrinologist, but the Endocrine Society has come out strongly and clearly that PFAS, forever chemicals, are endocrine disruptors, and they've been involved in a number of problems, particularly in young adults, but they can cause a whole panoply of problems.
Right.
And I know I forwarded the information that he provided, as well as information from the EPA about these issues. So
Did you forward that to the select board or the school board or both?
I don't know. Did we do that, Patrick? Because I know I did forward it
Believe
to
you
you.
did,
I
yeah.
think we did.
We did.
So, I mean, the Endocrine Society is on record that that any substances that have these forever chemicals are probably not a good idea.
Yeah, but this is what I have is an actual study that
Yeah.
proves it. I mean, that's verifiable evidence, so
Oh, right, and
that's
there's
even
other
stronger.
evidence, in the materials that.
So I think what we
the
would want to
Endocrine
say,
Society
no-
has,
Yeah, I'd
produced.
love to see that if both of you can, but
Yeah.
just not for this meeting, but just for some other
Right.
things I'm involved in. But, we should make sure when we talk open space and rec plans, that we provide safe and, whatever, areas for, community citizens and schools and to enjoy the outside and to play sports or whatever. I don't know that we get into that level here, but I mean, Emmett, I think, is the chair, Holt, of that committee. I don't know if they'd take that up. I know they're looking for, things to come up, but more so, net zero emissions, like when things are done to the town hall or any town building, what can we do to, get rid of oils and fossil fuels and things, and what can we do to be smarter, whether it's, electrical cars and such, so. I don't know if they're getting into that, but I think it's something like this, we reference safe in front of things, and that way we know for the decisions down the road and ones that are in play, that's something that, this town wants, safe and reliable.
Well, it's sort of a huge issue because it's right there on the edge of the Miles River. The Miles River
Wetlands,
obviously
yeah.
goes into the Ipswich, upstream of Ipswich's water supplies.
Yeah.
And it's getting fairly universal condemnation at this point to even consider such a project.
And they aerosolize as well, and the chemicals can be transmitted, by wind. So, I mean, they can spread broadly. It's not just that they could leach into the Miles River, but they could,
Oh,
by being aerosolized, they
It's
So
huge, and
let's
as
just
far
keep,
as the Board of
this is a
Health-
good, I'm not pushing this on, but we shouldn't
We
debate that
should
here.
move on.
But we should make sure the schools and the select board and everyone have the latest and the greatest. I'm sure they are. I will certainly take that
In the
as an action.
2020 Open Space and Recreation Plan, it figures fairly large that is the big solution, and I
It-
question whether or not it really is a big solution. that-
Right, so we should
that
reference,
we need to come up
safe
to date.
solutions in here somehow, that, things that have, with new information, that we're always on the forefront of safety.
Yeah, it seems a little.
That's all, so.
Yeah.
So, yeah, to your question, Tyler, is it a good way to do it? It's helpful for me. I mean, I'm reading through this, but, in respect to time too, I'd be curious what others think. I mean, there's a lot of good stuff in here. I mean, this numbering system, does this reference any reports, or is that our own 1.1, 2, 3?
Those are, I believe, the as they were numbered in the report, just so
Okay.
the reference is the same between the report and this spreadsheet.
And you talked about examples, you know, when I think of open space, I think of, you know, the Sagamore Hill property, I think of Patton Homestead. You know, if you're looking for examples that the town has, you know, either purchased or been gifted properties where we've preserved and allowed access for the public for open space and meetings and other events to take place, you know, those could be two good examples.
Well, in Vineyard Hill,
Yep, yep,
Greenbelt has now taken that over from the Patton family, so that's a big deal.
yeah.
That whole trail structure is now stabilized, which is first class.
One
Yeah,
of the
so I
things
think-
I'm a little
oh, sorry.
concerned with is we have a great deal of promotion of affordable, attainable housing, which is great, wonderful. If there's any town that in eastern Massachusetts that needs it, it's us. But I have to tell you that in order to do it and be effective at it, there have to be resources.
Right.
You know, currently, we have no staff that has the ability to focus on follow-up on the kinds of on-the-ground management, loan advancement for first-time home buyers, et cetera. These are the kinds of things that are, you know, it really takes to be able to sustain those types of programs, and you have to have staff to do it. We currently don't, and I don't envision us having them either for a while.
Patrick, are you talking about housing that's made by the town, or just any kind of housing?
Diversity of housing, or, because
even
we do have an
diversity.
affordable housing
As-
trust, right?
Yeah, we have an affordable housing trust.
Right.
Right, but
They
they're,
are an executive body.
yeah,
They're not a management body.
right, right.
And I think it's in, and you'll notice there are a great number of tasks
Yeah.
in this documentation that requires a great deal of follow-up and reporting, et cetera, to really make an affordable housing program work.
So,
Or a first-time homeowners program.
so
That
my,
would be very difficult, given the.
my comment about that would be, I'm I'm wondering, is that a town responsibility, or is it a buyer and their mortgage company and their realtor? Is that more their responsibility to sort of figure that out, rather than putting the responsibility for first-time buyer state programs onto a town, right?
Well, as you read this,
Yeah,
it contemplates it being town action.
Yeah.
and town-driven. Typically, in the absence of local municipal programs and staff, it's entirely done by the private sector.
right, that's, I'm just thinking sort of realistic goals. I mean, I don't,
Right.
you just
Attainable.
have to be realistic, I think, to some degree. I mean, it's aspirational, but I think, those programs, they change all the time. It takes so much research. I mean, I would think that somebody who's involved with that, their realtor would be the person that would be up to date on helping them to apply for, or guiding them on where to apply.
Well, if the town were to have such a program, just the application requirements and the investigation of people who are eligible, it's well beyond what Hamilton could do. It's just not realistic, it's not attainable. I think the Affordable Housing Trust, long before I became a member of it, had looked into that, and it died on the vine. There's just not the resources to do it.
Well, the funding, I think, is the other issue, and the funding, we just simply don't have the funding. And I think that with the private sector, the likelihood of the private sector engaging in any of that stuff is somewhere less than zero.
Right.
If one looks at those 3 shacks that used to be on Cutler Road, the one that was rebuilt, and then the other 2 that were
Built.
scraped and
Yeah.
replaced, you all know that the 2 new houses there sold for $1.1 million apiece.
Yeah.
There's no incentive for somebody to go and build all the things that are listed in the housing plans in these different things. There's no sense in it. Why would you do that if you could build one structure, make a killing, and be gone, you know?
That's
It's-
outrageous that those little boxes went for
But-
1 million.
Yeah, and there's a
Wow.
million examples of like that here, right, where it's not really downsized housing, you know, it's $1 million. But is there an onus or is there something a community can do to provide, I won't say affordable, but a diversity of housing, right? So Affordable Trust
Wow.
hits that, you know, that income level, I think. But are there things the town could do relative to, you know, mixed-use zoning where there's apartments, you know,
Well, that's
over
what-
there?
Angle, that's
exactly
what
we're
Angle-
trying to do
Exactly,
with
so those are
Gordon Conwell
examples I think we could do.
Theological Seminary, and, you know, the jury's out at the moment as to what is going to transpire. We're hoping to get further status at our meeting on the 17th from Dr. Ken Barnes, who is charged by the seminary with overseeing their sale of some or all of the property. But certainly the planning board has all but completed an overlay district for the Gordon Conwell Theological Seminary site that would include apartments and just potential for mixed use in the Pilgrim Hall, and the retreat house could certainly be part residential or commercial. So there are a lot of opportunities there, but that's a special overlay district. And so to do that throughout the town would require considerable work to redo the zoning
But,
bylaws, and that again could meet some resistance.
But those, if we mention we want to have options in other boards and committees down the road to think of that, like for instance, when Chapter 61 properties come back into play, could there be things where the town could get involved and maybe there's village-style housing or something that's, you know, single level at a lower price point to encourage first-time buyers to get people in who aren't looking for, you know, a McMansion, you know? That's what I think, when I read this, came to my mind, you know,
Well,
are there
That's a change in zoning, because right now, you know, we have R1Bs.
No incentive.
R1B, R1A, and RA zoning, and except in the downtown. And so, you know, you have, 1 acre minimum. You know,
But it could
so-
be a LIP program, which
Oh,
is
yeah,
what
that's
happened
affordable.
in downtown, yep.
Yeah, it could
Right.
be a
Yeah,
LIP
so-
program.
Yeah, so, okay, so just to comment on all this, this is a good
No,
conversation
I
because
think it's
actually
right
this
on.
is
It's
an
like, that's what I'm saying,
important
something like
point
this
is,
should reference
one of-
future boards to think about those things, so it's not just a bunch of McMansions, that's all, that's my point.
Yeah, so in terms of this implementation plan, one thing we absolutely want to do when we're putting it together is to make sure that we're not recommending things to the town that we know it can't do. So I think the discussion around, you know, for these, you know, some of these housing things, the town just doesn't have the capacity. That is, you know, that's not surprising. It takes a lot of staff capacity to do some of these things. So if one of our goals in the plan is to, you know, to drive, the creation of these, you know, affordable and more diverse housing types through municipal action, rather than skipping right to, you know, some of the, you know, programs that Hamilton doesn't have the ability to run right now. We might focus more on, you know, capacity building, looking for grants, if that's the path we're going to go down. Or I think that the instinct to look at zoning changes as something that the town can do as like a first step to maybe encouraging housing types, I think is spot on. That's like, you know, one thing the town does have control over is zoning. So that, all that is to say, that is part of this. Like we do want to be aspirational, but we also want to be, we want to create an implementation checklist that in theory could be 100% checked off at the end of the plan. I mean, you know, knowing reality, I'm sure it won't be, but you know, if there's items on there that we know will never be checked off, they don't belong there, basically.
I don't want to sit here today and say someone can't do something 5-10 years down the road. I mean, if. I think we're
That's
supposed to
true.
Provide
So-
a guiding principle, and it's their jobs to make it happen. I don't think it's impossible to have village housing in a property that might, you know, come up out of 61 or Chapter 61 or something like that. I think the town could put something together and go after that.
Yeah, that's doable. I think we were talking about the aspiration of we providing a program where we help people discover and then apply for whatever housing incentives would be available from the state. I think that's what's sort of beyond our capacity to do.
But you never know with this, the septic loan program's a good example of like, we're just putting people in touch with programs that are out there provided by the state.
Well, we're going to do that.
Right, so that's a good example, like maybe there'll be other programs by the
Yeah,
state
yeah.
where we might help channel.
So maybe make a general statement about.
That's all, that's what
Yeah,
I
yeah,
thought
okay,
this was
okay.
all about.
Yeah.
Kind of, these are the wishes, these are what we'd like to provide, and then, that, it's the job of boards and committees, as things approach the town to make it happen, or say, no, we can't do it, here's a reason why, next.
Well, the
Yeah,
MBTA housing is gonna be one of the great
Yep.
test cases, there's no question about that. And the suits have already begun, unfortunately.
Really, yeah, that's gonna drive, a lot downtown, I'm sure.
Yeah, so to your point, Bill, I think you're right that we can't just look at like what's possible right now. Obviously, things will change, capacity can build, the world shifts. But I think thinking about it as, is this realistic to complete within 15 years, given our town's resources, are there a ton of other things above it on the priority level? I suppose the better wording would be not like what the town has the capacity to do, but can we imagine that the town might be able to realistically do it in these 15 years? If the answer is probably, fine, that's good. But if the answer is definitely not, then we might want to steer away from that. That's just, I think that's how I would describe the
Yeah,
approach.
I
Just
like that.
we can dream big,
Yeah.
but we don't want to put anything that's just like blatantly impossible.
That's a good
that's a good
plan,
framework.
Tyler. I like that.
Yeah, it can be a sort of a tricky tightrope to walk, but
It'll be a very tricky tightrope, because you're totally reliant on private industry to come up with this. Ultimately, private sector is gonna have to produce it. The town is never gonna be, particularly with our given present tax structure, there's no way in hell we've got subsidy money beyond, particularly at 2% on CPA. So it's gonna be a tough row to hoe.
And part of our job is to help the town identify what it can do and what it has control over, and to recommend those things. So, anyway, were we done talking about the homework? Gosh, I mean, this was a good conversation. Let me get my brain back into it. I think that right now my inclination is sort of to take the compiled homework. I will send that out to you, including everybody's comments, and sort of read through your comments more carefully and maybe extract the ones that you've identified and just use that as material for the next stage of, drafting a more complete implementation plan. Because this is only going to be one part of the implementation plan. Like I said, we're going to have input from the public by the end of the month, and then we're going to go back to town departments, and part of what we'll be asking them are things like, capacity. Like, if we, propose something like this, is there any chance your department would be capable of taking it on? Things like that. So this is just one piece of it, and it's a very helpful start, but I don't know if it's worth talking too much more about now, unless you would like to, of course.
Anybody have anything else on the homework?
Just the only comment, and it relates to what we've been talking about PFAS, and when we look at the open space and recreation plan, that actually was not even done by our town. It was done by MAPC in 2020. And one of the things that concerns me, and it might be a moot point, it talks about redevelop, what is it? It's 2.2, redevelop and maintain existing athletic fields, including developing turf fields. And that's so antithetical to the environmental concerns. So things like that, I think we need to be careful about when we make our plans, because there's a certain sector in town that really wanted the athletic field, and then there are people who are very concerned about the environmental impacts. And I think there was not a whole lot of communication there was not adequate communication at town meeting. It just seemed like it was sort of, and I want, and so we'll vote for it kind of thing. But there wasn't adequate exploration of the environmental concerns. And so I would like to see on anything that ends up being on our list, actions, that we really think about the consequences of it and not just say, oh, yeah, well, somebody said they wanted this, so let's put this in. I think we really need to make sure that we look at it objectively.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, to pull up solutions, in quotes, that aren't, or have the potential to go further down the road and then suddenly have action to be taken, which is now happening, I think, in Boston. I mean, I think they're stuck in
They've
Boston.
already banned
It's-
athletic
it's-
fields.
This is a big
the
deal,
turf
to
fields.
have to suddenly stop a project into which $2 or $3 million has
yeah.
already been sunk. And I think funder liability is gonna come into this too.
Yeah, so I just want us to be really cognizant of the type of goals that we think about and endorse.
I know on the other hand, we really need to do something with respect to the schools. I mean, the school buildings are all.
Right,
old
but I
and
mean, I'm
obsolete.
just talking generally about a goal when there's a countervailing point that is very dangerous.
Well, that's, I'm agreeing with you. I'm
Yeah,
agreeing with
yeah,
you.
yeah,
That,
yeah.
you know, to be pushing ahead on, within the master plan,
Yeah.
pushing objectives that may never come to fruition.
Or that
Probably
are
shouldn't.
harmful, right. So that's all, Tyler. I just wanted to make that point.
Yep, I gotcha. Okay, so
The only thing else I'll
big-
add, Tyler, is on row 54, if it's the same, we're on the parking agreements with commercial property owners, just to provide access to businesses. There is work being done on that. I don't know if that should be a yes. I know they're gonna put a, 2-hour ban, there's gonna be signage, they're talking about potentially moving, and the police will enforce it, just so that, commuters and such aren't parking in front of stores that people need to run in. There was some discussion, I don't think it's part of it, though, about owners who might sit there for 8 hours with their car in front. Maybe there's something on Willow Street or on the side. So they are looking into that. I just, I would imagine, Patrick, if the department head sees that, that was just reviewed a couple weeks ago.
That's good. Yeah, that's a
Okay.
big problem, when you have commuters who
Yeah.
completely take over the parking lot at the tennis courts, and there's just no place to park,
How
so.
about the people who work in downtown? They've got to park somewhere. Do they have
Yeah,
some
that's
sort
what
of
they're trying to,
allocated
like, the
parking?
business
Stickers
owners
or
is what we
something?
reference here, right? So it's like, can we move them onto Willow Street, but then we're looking at, cars turning corners, and, is that a safety hazard,
Yeah,
especially
you're
around
gonna have
school release?
stickers on cars that say, this car, if it's gonna be a part of a commuting thing, that it
Yeah.
has to park at a certain
So they're
place.
looking at all that, with a whole goal to open up, the business district so a car can pull in and pull out, right?
I think that's a very good idea.
So there is some work on that. That's my only point. I would say that's a yes, but continued progress is being looked at.
Okay, yeah, that's interesting.
The parking that's at the train station, that land is owned by?
The T.
The T, and it's
MBTA.
paid parking.
I know, that's the
So
problem.
I think some people go,
when
"Psh,"
right.
yeah.
They don't want to, but then it takes over our
Is that
limited
owned by the T, or
parking.
is that owned by
The-
Crosby's?
No, the MBTA parking, it's,
rent that.
it might be leased or something,
Right.
but then you have Crosby's, and they have the parking police sitting there every morning, believe me, in Crosby's.
Do they really?
So I
Some
see
of
them
that's in
every morning.
Wenham too, isn't it?
Yeah.
Particularly
Yeah,
behind
Yeah, I
a lot
the
of
believe
it's
store.
in
so.
Wenham.
They have some parking in the back of their property that, based on the parking requirements in the zoning bylaw and the permit that they got from the ZBA in 1999, I guess it was, that parking's required to satisfy their permit, although it really isn't used. And to me, that's an opportunity.
Yeah.
You mean way in back,
Yeah.
against, way in back, oh, I didn't know that. I wondered why I've seen occasional cars, or I
But that's
thought it was
Wenham
all-
land, or?
It's half and half. Part us, part them.
Yeah, and all that area probably should be decked over with PV array, to tell you the truth.
Could be housing too for the.
Oh, we
I don't know, you need parking down there. 'cause
No, I mean, I
all
just
the
meant for the
commuters.
whole MBTA thing. I mean, it's right there.
Anyhow.
All right, so
All right.
these are good points. Good points. Well, we will be talking a lot about specific implementation and action items over the coming months. So, we'll have plenty of opportunities. The major thing that we need to touch on at this meeting still is the upcoming community meeting. And the two things are the actual contents of that meeting and sort of the logistics and organizing around the meeting. So if you recall, we settled on Saturday, October 28th at 1 p.m. at the middle school. Same venue as our first meeting back in January, February, whenever that horrifically frigid day was. And I believe I distributed a flyer out to you all the other week after our last meeting. And so logistically speaking, I mean, we know the space. We'll have plenty of room and tables and everything. I think Dana has arranged all that for us. The two major things are, one, just getting a sense of who's going to be there and what your comfort level in participating and facilitating in groups is. That will affect maybe how we design some of these exercises. And then I also really want to check in on outreach and what there is to be done still with outreach. So I think we've talked about this in drips and drabs, but not everyone's been here every time. Dana's not here, but I already know that she cannot make that meeting date. So for just the remaining folks here, are you able to attend on the 28th? And if so, are you willing to do some facilitation help in small groups?
Yep, I'm willing, whatever you need.
Yeah, same here.
Same.
Yep.
I'm not sure what's happening on the 28th. Sorry, I should have looked at that.
As long as it's
So-
over, because I'm telling you, my neighborhood is having a block pumpkin carving party at 4:00. Whew, so we just made it.
Yeah, we'll be done before then.
Yeah, I know, it's just 1 to
You'll
3.
Good.
Have them all come to the
Um,
meeting.
I know.
Yeah, 3 at the latest,
Sure.
honestly. There's some cushion time built in there. So this is our final, big community meeting. And actually, if you want to know in more detail what we're planning for that, I can tell you because I have a slide or two on that. But essentially, it's going to be in a lot of ways a lot like that first one we had. We'll have a presentation, we'll have group exercises for feedback. This time it's going to really focus on the implementation and action items. So this will be the third and final one that we're doing.
So
yeah,
will
okay.
you have support, like, I forget the the person's name who helped facilitate the rooms and did the whiteboards and took notes? Is she going to be there as well to help you with that, or?
Well, we're gonna have some limited staff capacity here. It's going to be me, Judy will be there, and then I believe my other colleague, Amber, who's newer to the firm, is also going to be there to help out. But I think that, well, there's a few ways we could organize it, and it sort of depends on, what our capacity is. Sometimes if we have enough people in groups, in small groups, for the discussion, there will be like a facilitator and a note taker. But this committee is, limited in size and not everyone can be there. So we probably don't have quite enough people if the turnout is similar to how it has been. So I got to think about it, considering now I know who we have from the committee, who we have coming from here. We'll try to figure out what makes the most sense organizationally. But essentially what the ask will actually be is, there's going to be a whole brainstorming exercise to walk the group through. And I can show you a draft mock-up of that when we get into the content, but it's going to be leading people through that discussion and then recording the the notes. Those are the two key tasks that we got to get done in each of these groups. So we can have, if we want to like make sure there's like a couple like committee members per group, we could limit the number of groups and just have maybe like slightly bigger groups. But I don't think it would be an unmanageable number if we did just like 3 groups instead of spreading out to a ton of different little tables, I think. And if, I think that should be pretty safe. To having had some experience in like after the last 2 meetings, the turnout was like pretty similar. So I feel like that format would be good. So, you know, it wouldn't be just you wrestling the table of unruly residents now. That they're all very nice. But so that's what I'm thinking. In terms of like what I'm actually asking you all to help with. Just some basic like facilitating off of a guide, you know, I'll have it all written out for you, and then just making sure it's all in writing so we can review it later.
It's conceivable because there are not many people left on this board that we could get some of the participants to be the note takers.
Oh yeah, that's always an opportunity.
I mean, maybe someone would be willing to undertake that. Because if the board members are the facilitators, that might be more important than taking notes. We could get one of the attendees to take the notes. We might have to.
Yes.
Correct.
Because there are 5 of us, no, 4 of us who are committed. and
Actually,
we need
I can
6.
commit. I just sort of thinking this thing through. I can commit.
You can.
Yeah.
That's 5. So we'd still need 1 more, so we would have a facilitator and a note taker for 3 groups.
Mhm.
And we know Dana can't
Okay.
come, and so we don't know about
Kristen?
Chris.
Yeah,
She's
Kristen.
resigned.
Yeah, she sent a note that she can't participate anymore.
Mhm. Yeah, I just saw that. So
So we can get somebody else, Joe and Patrick and I shared a note today about it, or, you know, I did want to kind of discuss what's the remaining lift and time, you know, for 4 members, or do we just finish with what we've got, and what does that look like?
We can draft somebody.
So,
Bring back the draft.
Yeah, certainly for taking notes too, it doesn't even have to be a
Yeah,
committee
that's
member.
true.
We could have somebody else there.
we could have
if we're-
Susan do it,
Yeah, just thinking
his
about
wife,
that.
yeah, we could, yeah.
Wiser, that's what wise are for, I think.
So Tyler, I have a group of people that tend to show up at these meetings, and so I will be sending them an email. And they were a little bit grumpy last time because they felt there wasn't enough new material, and they wanted to talk about implementation. So I would love it if you would take a few minutes at some point this evening to go over what your process will be, so that I can sort of tell them a little bit. So that
yeah,
they
yeah,
will feel.
I am planning on doing that, and
Okay.
I've spoken to those people as well. I'm aware of that already. This meeting will certainly be much more to their liking based on this complaint. So why don't I show you what the plan is right now?
Do you have something written up that you can
Yeah, it's
follow
just-
up on this with?
Yeah, send us information about this at some point too.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you want me to write up with the flyer, I can't remember whether I did like a written blurb or not, but if not, I can certainly provide one.
It was very general. I like the flyer, and it does talk about implementation. But this group of people, I think they would be happy to have as much specific information or more detailed information as possible.
Yeah, now that things are, you know, further along in the planning stages, I can write something else up that's a little more detailed. But let me show you what I'm thinking so far. And if you have any ideas, you can add them. But here is, where's the full screen button? I have so much stuff on my screen right now. Okay, here we go. Okay, so first off is the presentation portion. There's kind of a lot to present because there's been a lot going on since we last, you know, came to the public. So, you know, we'll have a brief recap of where we've been so far. You know, that's pretty standard. But since we've last spoken to the public, we have, a lot of draft material out. So we can talk in a lot more detail about, what we've produced, summarize some of the key findings from the inventory and assessment. We can go through the vision and goals that we've had so many great conversations about in this committee. Really just present to them what the contents of the plan are so far and how we arrived at them through the process. And then, talk about how we connect those materials to actions, which is what the exercises will be focused on. So really the presentation is basically going to be the first time in a while we've gone back to the community and formally presented, this is what we've been working on, and we've got quite a lot to show for it, thanks in large part to the work of this committee. So that's the content of the presentation. And so then, in terms of what we actually are asking people to do, the real key thing is identifying specific actions and identifying how those actions connect to goals. So I mocked this up, it'll look nicer, but I was just trying to think through what this exercise might actually look like. Okay, that was zoom in. Here we go. So this would be like, I'd want to find a way to fit more on this page, but like the basic idea I was thinking is, for each topic, we have one nice goal for each topic. So, we present that, have that for people to, keep in mind as, these actions should serve to further the goal. And then this is where we could bring in some, examples of past action items. These I just are random ones I pulled from the sheet just to illustrate what it would look like. These are not necessarily the two we would use for this. And maybe, start a conversation there, talk, have, the group members talk about, okay, these are some actions that were proposed in the past and maybe didn't get done. What do you think of these? Are these, in the right direction? Would you critique these items? And then based on that, get into a conversation about, okay, what are your ideas for, this topic being land use or economic development or anything?
Tyler,
So
just one
guide the
comment.
conversation that way and have a group conversation about it.
Tyler, one comment on trying to do something with Manchester in our former landfill area. There's very, very little developable property there. The whole backside where the ranges, the shooting ranges are, the water table is so high there, there's really no potential at all. The high country behind cell number 1, I've always thought would be excellent for sort of young people, multi-story, something or other, enjoy the views and things of that nature. But there's a bit of that skirt out front which is filled, and there's not much land there that one could do very much with.
That's fine, Jack. Then that's probably not an example we would actually use.
Yeah, I think it was ruled out as a possibility.
Yeah, and I think if we were going to do anything, we'd probably do it all alone, just because there isn't
Yeah.
enough scope for something.
Right,
that's
and
really
it has already been discussed and studied and ruled out. Patrick
Yeah.
agrees, yeah, so.
Well, they did a survey
Well-
many years ago, and said if they actually filled in the pond back there, the whole place would just flood all over again,
Yeah,
so.
so,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. This was
Yeah,
recent,
and
the
this
last
is
couple
exactly the
years.
kind of conversation that including those examples would be there to spark. If Jack was in the conversation group, then all of a sudden everyone would be talking about like, okay, what can we do there? If not there, do we want to do things elsewhere? Get there. And then I think it would be good to have, as a result of that, to workshop some like actual new, some new action statements. And then maybe once the group gets those together, maybe vote on like one or two that are the most important, then share them with the rest of the group. And then we can go through, compile those, and, produce a nice summary of what people's thoughts were. So there's room to maybe do like a little more around the edges, like maybe having some like interactive boards up. I'm not sure exactly what those would be, but I really wanted to focus on figuring out what is like the core exercise we want people to do. And I think it's going to be something along those lines. So,
Tyler, I
Y'all-
think there's another,
yeah.
another point I'd like to bring up, and that is, at some point, it would make some sense to try and at least coordinate in some way with what's going on over in Wenham as well. And I say that with the idea that out behind the supermarket there, for example, that's a very wet area. They're capped off in their state housing back there by septic problems. Obviously, we have real septic problems downtown ourselves. There's real scope there for doing something that would be innovative with the septic, and on a joint basis that would be very beneficial for us and for them. And then, of course, they've got that whole Prince property that is part of their MBTA obligation. I'm assuming, because that's about the only thing they can really do something with in that area. Do you have any plans for some kind of liaison with Wenham on any of this stuff? And what are you going to do about the septic situation down in that area?
That is a good point, Jack. We should, it's been a while since I've heard anything about where the Wenham plan is at. I don't know if you have, but we do know the consultants who are working on that plan. And if they're at a point where they have draft like actions to look at, I think it would be a good idea to look at those and see where's their common ground, where's their opportunities to have those plans dovetail. I think that would be lovely for the towns of Hamilton and Wenham to do that. If that's possible, I think that is something we should do.
We did meet with them, Patrick, right, early on.
Twice.
Maybe we should send another note over and just see if there's worth an update
Sure.
meeting.
Yeah. But if that could happen, that would be great. And if there's applicable actions that would make sense in both plans to coordinate the inclusion. Yeah, I really like that, especially for, two towns that cooperate as much as Hamilton and Wenham do. So
Tyler,
what-
can I ask one question? Is, just to sort of recap everything, would you be able to send us, or have you already, and it's in my emails somewhere, sent us the draft goals that are the most updated?
Oh, yes, I haven't sent those to you. Those, I'll get those to you by the end of the
Okay,
week. And the
that-
draft goals, the draft vision.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll make sure you have all
Okay,
of that.
thank you.
Are they on the website? I haven't looked at the website.
They might not be up there yet. I'll work on getting them up. We did update it. Like the draft inventory and assessment stuff is up there. All the meeting summaries are up there. And I'm talking about the I don't know what the town has on its official website, but the one that we control that originally belonged to Western and Sampson, and we got through means that I don't even know. But we have it now, and we did update it like a couple months ago. So we can certainly make sure those are up there as well. And
And could you just,
we'll also make it clear that those materials are available for the public to look
yeah,
at.
exactly, that would be helpful. And could you just refresh my memory, the the address for the website?
Oh, yeah. I think it's just hamiltonmasterplan.com. Let me double check that.
Okay,
Yes, hamiltonmasterplan.com is the actual
perfect, thank you.
website. Yes. Okay. Any more, questions or comments on the content of the meeting before we just want to briefly check in on where we're at in terms of community engagement, and then I think that's everything I had on my list. Anything else on this topic?
Well, I mean, I think our next meeting is the meeting, right? So, logistically, like, if we're gonna facilitate meetings, what's the timeline? We'll get some documents. Should we have any discussion, or is it kind of self-explanatory? We're just gonna walk through it.
Oh, yeah. So you'll get the materials definitely at least a week ahead of time. A week is the shortest amount of time you will have to review these. perhaps sooner. And I don't know if it's necessary to like meet up. If you think that would be helpful, I think, that's sort of your prerogative as a committee to decide, but you'll certainly have time to review the materials ahead of time.
Are you saying this by the second Wednesday, a week before the second Wednesday in November?
No, this is October.
No, so for the October 28th meeting,
So that's
Um,
2.5 weeks
By the
roughly.
public?
So by,
Yeah.
roughly by the end of next week, you think we'll, have?
yeah, yes, I think that, I think it would be only fair to give you, at least a full week to
20th.
view those materials.
Yeah, if we can get something by the 20th and kind of just lay out, like you said before, here's what you'll ask us to do from the facilitation part. I'd love to see the presentation piece with the content. And I don't know if you can, how are we gonna, is there a process in place where we're gonna kind of see people registering? Do we kind of know, are we gonna know how many people are going? Interest levels?
How's it publicized?
No, we don't have like an official sign-up sheet. That's a lot easier to do when it's on Zoom.
Yeah.
When you can literally gate entry to being signed up. I don't believe we did any like formal sign-up process for the first meeting either, I don't think.
Yeah, I don't think we did either, but I think the committee did a good job. We have the flyers, check.
Yeah.
I don't know if Patrick, we can get Joe to put things out there on, the town site, put something on,
On the digital board.
Yeah, on the digital board. Maybe
I'll
we can
put-
flash it up
yeah,
there a week in
I'll
advance.
Put flyers downtown in all
Yeah.
the stores, so.
I don't know if Bill Gates or anyone, how can we get it on maybe some of the social media sites just to push it out there?
That's a
save
good
the date.
idea, on the patch or
Well,
something, yeah.
Joe posts on the Hamilton Wenham Facebook page,
Yeah.
so he can post on that.
And we can repost. I like that flyer, that's a nice thing to post, and
Can we get that hung, do you think, down at Crosby's?
oh,
or
yeah,
hang it up?
I'll make a bunch of copies, I'll call.
Maybe some in the post office. I mean, I can do that, some of that stuff too.
Yeah.
I can make copies.
Yeah, I was going to, I'll talk to Laurie about getting, color copies, or Patrick getting color copies, and I'll pick them up, the beginning of probably the middle of next week, and start putting them up. I think at 10 days to 2 weeks ahead of time is good.
I think the members should plan on arriving at the middle school no later than noontime, just to help with getting everything set up and just running through any outstanding questions or issues that may come up.
Yeah, I can get there. It's 1 o'clock, right?
Yeah.
Get there an hour in
Mhm.
advance and get things going.
Yeah, and the other
Well,
thing-
you will find me there, so
Yeah.
you're welcome to show up that early. We can always use help.
And the other thing we did was everybody just took their own email lists and
Just
pushed
blast
it
it out.
out. Yeah, so that was really helpful too.
Yeah, and turnout was good the first 2 times, so I am very confident in this committee's ability to get the word out.
Well, there are fewer of us, so we have to work harder now.
Well, that's true.
Smarter. Smarter, not harder.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, so the only thing in terms of outreach that you may not have is what Rosie sort of asked for is sort of a more in-depth blurb, talking a bit more about the details of the content. So I will work on that tomorrow, just because sooner rather than later is always better with outreach, and get that to you. I think other than that, though, the flyer should be pretty good. The idea was to be able to use that both digitally and print it out and hang it. So
It's a nice flyer.
is there any other like outreach materials or anything that I could provide you that would be of help?
And we don't want to use any kind of online meeting, like an Evite, to get a chance to have people register beforehand and get a head count or a sense.
That's interesting. Does the flyer have a, what do you call
QR
those?
code?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
I
did
don't
the
think it
flyer-
does.
The last one.
Yeah, yeah. Does this flyer have a QR code?
No.
I think we put one just for the master plan website. We could try to set something up if you're interested in doing that. We can.
I just think it would
Yeah.
be great to get the insight in advance of how many how many
Agree.
folks may actually show up rather than being blind.
And I can.
Yeah, I'll see what we can
Cookies.
put together.
And, you know, sites like Evite, it's free,
Mm.
and people get reminded after they RSVP, they get reminded some days in advance of the event when they might otherwise forget, so
Yeah,
it helps boost the attendance.
that's a good idea.
Yeah, I like that. I mean, we could push that out through the Facebook page and just,
Yeah, anything digital that we're
Interested,
sending out
right.
anyway can easily have a URL.
yep.
Anything printed, it's a QR code or a tiny URL, but
We're gonna have to talk, because I'm gonna repost it on my Facebook page, and maybe you could help me with that. It would be one Evite site, and we would all use it.
Yeah,
Would
we
that
should
be
have
the
one.
plan?
oh yeah,
Okay.
it's definitely one event site. Evite's probably the most popular these
Okay.
days.
I don't know how to set that up, so if you could help talk.
I'm happy to do it,
through
you know, I
Yeah, well-
probably Barrett Planning should put together whatever we are gonna use.
Yeah, we'll put something together
And
and,
let us know. Okay, perfect.
It'll ultimately just be a URL.
Okay,
that you can paste
Yep.
anywhere, into an email, on your Facebook page. They
Okay.
will click on it, and it takes them to a website called,
The-
if we
the
use
Evite.
Evite.
Yeah, I've
People's
used that.
Post or one of the others.
okay, that's a good idea.
People can say, you know, yes, I'll be there, no, I won't.
Mm-hmm, okay.
Mhm. Okay. Yeah, any other ideas or discussion around outreach? I think we've got some solid plans.
Sounds good.
Yeah, well, that's the last thing I had on my agenda. I really appreciate it. We're gonna be working hard to put together these meeting materials over the next couple of weeks. I'm looking forward to it. I think it'll be a good one. Yeah, other than that, that's fine. Your homework is just to engage in outreach and then take a look at and review the draft meeting materials when you get them.
All right.
Tyler, once we've had our meeting and we have sort of a recap of it, what remains for us in the committee?
Yeah, so at that point, the task is really just to finish the plan. The main thing is the implementation section. So coming up with that list of action items, like a time frame, responsible parties, organizing them in a way that makes sense. That's really the major remaining task, is sort of reviewing that. And yeah, we're gonna try to get that done by the end of this year. That's when our contract is through. I think we can do it. But basically, it's just reviewing and discussing and workshopping those action items until they're in a place that this committee is comfortable with.
Tyler, when
And
are we
just
going to see?
any
a
other
review?
miscellaneous things that appear when putting the full plan together.
When are we going to see a draft?
Let's see. So, good question. Given it, sometime in November, certainly. I gotta think about how many weeks we need after the meeting. When's your November meeting? Let's see what the date is on that.
I
It's
think
the second
the second,
Wednesday, right? So
November
that
8th.
is
November 8th? The town
The
meeting is
8th.
6, right? Yeah.
Monday. Wednesday would be, I mean, if we follow the regular cadence, which we all committed to try to make on the second Wednesday of the month, that's likely too soon. Too soon. I don't know if it's a worthy touch point after the 28th meeting, or if we should
Postpone it for one
postpone it.
Yeah, that's a good question.
Probably
I
the 15th would be.
I think it would be unlikely to have a draft set of actions by that time. I mean, we could still meet, discuss other things, but
Well, that'd be fine. I mean, if when do you think, would be a reasonable time in November? You mentioned November, to get together
Yeah.
with something to look at.
That should be the meeting.
Unless you want our help in the aggregation and formatting it.
I wouldn't want my help because I don't know how to do.
If you want to see a.
Well, I'll ask you this. I mean, are you as a committee interested at all in doing like a round of brainstorming actions, or would you rather we put together our best efforts and you comment and fix and add to it if we miss anything?
That,
What do you guys think?
second.
I like the second. I think you have a lot of experience, and I think when we're struggling, you tend to come up with very usable solutions, so.
Okay, so then we would meet once we have produced a draft, and also once you've had time to look over the draft too. So
15th, are you thinking?
let's see. So after the
Come up
28th,
with
that'd
that. I don't
be
know if
1
that's too
week,
soon.
2 week, 3 weeks. And of course, then we're coming up against Thanksgiving. I mean, if we get this to you, if we take 2 weeks after the meeting to, compile everything we heard, everything we've talked about so far with, the homework and everything, get a good draft together. So after 2 weeks, so that would be like November the 10th.
Or birthday.
Oh, hold on. That's a holiday day for Veterans Day, but
weekend.
I mean, as a submission deadline, I guess that's fine. Then the next week, you'd have the opportunity to look at it, and then would trying to squeeze it all in before Thanksgiving be too much? That might not be realistic. Because then you'd have like 1 week to review it. Then we could like maybe meet early in the week before Thanksgiving, but sometimes early in the week of Thanksgiving, but then sometimes people are traveling. The alternative would be to just do it that week after Thanksgiving.
So-
Do you have a
Unless
preference?
we think the
Should we-
15th is a good touch point, knowing that there's still stuff being done, we probably just got it, or we punt until,
Or the 21st, I mean, everybody except Dana is here, and we
What's the
could,
date
I
of
think we're
Thanksgiving?
meeting on the 21st.
that's the 23rd and 4th, right?
23rd
Yeah.
and 4th.
That week can be tough for some people, but
Yeah,
I don't know my schedule. I'm sure I'm around, but.
we've got a lot of family coming in.
I mean, from my perspective, that would work. It's just, I think it's a matter of, if we can turn around a draft, by the end of the week, by November 10th, then you'd have like roughly a full work week to, go through, review comments. If the committee's comfortable with that, then the 21st would work for
The
me.
21st is a planning board meeting, so I
Ah.
can't attend, and the memorial room is occupied.
Okay.
what about the 20th? Is there a select board meeting that night? It's First and third?
Yeah, there
I
probably
bet there is, yeah.
I mean, it doesn't make sense to get together. We all, I think, found Wednesdays to be the best. The 15th, or is that, we would have had it for 5 days, but
Well,
I'm nervous about the week of Thanksgiving, but
I'd
I'm
avoid
around,
that
I know
if we
that, but I
could.
think,
so maybe the 15th? Should we try for the 15th, the week before? And Tyler, whatever you can get done, you get done, and if it's not
if
finished?
that's unrealistic and we find out, a week after the 28th, we'll just change it.
Sure, works for
What do
me.
you guys think? I mean, I'm trying to be sensitive to calendars and.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would avoid the Thanksgiving week.
So I guess, Tyler, do you think there would be, from your perspective and the work that you have to do, do you think the 15th will give you enough time to get everything to us and we could?
Yeah, I do think we can get you a draft. I don't think that will be a huge problem. I guess the biggest question is how much time you'll have to review it. But, we can make that work. We could do more like talking through it at the meeting if you don't have as much time to review it on your own. We can make the 15th work. Whatever point we're at, I think we'll have plenty to talk about.
Right, and I'm assuming, that all the graphics and all that type of stuff, that we're not really as concerned with that at that
Right.
point. We want to see the text.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, there's a whole formatting and beautifying task that
Yeah, we wouldn't-
is our burden sort of near the end of things. That might be
Yeah.
a good chunk of our December. Who knows? Judy's a real stickler for these things, making them look nice. So I'm sure you'll get a very nice product, but it's an awful lot of work.
I know, I
Anyway.
appreciate that.
Yeah,
Patrick,
so-
what are you thinking over there?
I'm thinking the 15th would give us a good
Yeah,
interim.
I think it's a good touch point.
I
It
think so,
pushes out,
too.
we usually would have met the 8th, we pushed it out a week just to try to get what
Yeah.
we can. We come together, you know, wherever it's at, you know, before.
Oh, wait,
we
okay,
break for a
I'm
holiday.
glad I looked at my calendar, because actually I have a pretty major conflict that night.
Oh, you do?
Oh.
Okay, I'm glad I checked. You know, oftentimes I'll just be able to bend my schedule around like an important
No, no,
like
yeah.
client meeting, but this, I've got another big meeting that night.
That's okay.
So,
You don't have to explain. I do think that's a good week to do it, though. I don't
15th.
know what others.
yeah.
Like maybe the Thursday night, the 16th?
Yep.
I'm gonna guess I'm open. I have nothing on the
Mm.
calendar, so.
Yeah, I have. Yeah.
Available the 16th.
Yeah,
Wanna try it? 16th, are you back you okay on that night, or?
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah, let's do that.
I can do the
Just, you know,
16th,
we'll
no
pencil it.
problem.
16?
yeah,
So not the 8th, yes, the 16th.
yeah, we're thinking.
Okay.
All right.
I think that works, and we'll see where we're at. Gives you another, well, you're busy that other night, so. I was gonna say we gave you
Yeah.
another whole 24 hours, but,
It'll be fine. Don't worry about me. That schedule works.
okay. I'm glad you asked that, Patrick. So then we get, you know, we come together there, and then when does it shift into like implementation with department heads and things like that? First of the year, or,
Uh,
I mean, that's less
so
us.
could you? I'm not sure. I totally got the question, Bill. Sorry.
Well,
so
did we
is it
add
like,
scope into some implementation work with department heads? Is that gonna be in parallel?
So,
now,
like
or-
developing implementation
Yeah.
strategies, or like actually doing implementation? Do you?
I
mean?
thought there was a series of department head meetings that would take place on how they would utilize the report for implementation. Is that not correct?
Yeah. No, we are gonna do some department head interviews, and I think where would those slot in? I got to think about what would be a good week to do
Yeah,
those.
you know what would be
but
nice is
the
maybe we
purpose-
kind of take that line calendar you did and just update it and push it out. So you don't have to figure it
Yeah.
out now, but maybe that's something over the next week or so we can put together.
Yeah, that is something we're doing.
Okay. I just selfishly want to give an update to the board as well. To select.
Oh yeah, Bill, we talked about this a while back. I totally forgot about that. I can make a brief appearance at a select board meeting remotely to give a brief update.
Yeah, we won't push that between now and, the community meeting and even, but maybe after that, we'll talk about when the right time is. I'll push them off of that, but just letting Joe and team know, kind of, here's the timetable we're on, the calendar, because it's kind of, I think we're getting to a point, not only an update, but just kind of giving up, laying out the landscape here, that's all.
Okay, yeah, just let me know what
Okay.
makes sense. I can do that.
I'm just thinking out loud here, but statutorily, it's the planning boards that have the approval authority of master plans for communities, right?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay. To that point, it may be useful to have a joint meeting between the planning board and the Board of Selectmen.
I didn't know that, the planning board.
Yeah, so the way it'll go is this committee's final charge will be to vote to recommend the plan for adoption to the planning board. That's ultimately that's sort of your ultimate task, is to say, we as the representatives of the committee are putting this forward as a plan we think you should adopt, and then the planning board has their own adoption process. They can handle that hearing how they wish, but that's sort of how it goes.
Yeah, so a joint meeting would make sense.
Do you have any comments on that, Marnie? Just,
I do, and I was going to email you, Tyler, but I'll just go ahead and say it. I think it would be helpful if you and I talked, or even if you zoomed into one of our planning board meetings, But I think it would be helpful if I, was able to speak with you and tell you about some of the initiatives that the planning board has undertaken and some of the things that we have in our back pocket. And I'm referring to the flexible development bylaw that is just out there.
Sure.
And just kind of get a sense of what the planning board would think about rethinking the Great Estates Overlay District or the Open Space and Farmland Development Preservation Bylaw. These are bylaws that could potentially be amended, but I'd want you to get a sense of where other board members are on this. I mean, right now, I can tell you our priorities are Gordon Conwell Theological Seminary and also this MBTA communities. And in conjunction with that, form-based coding for the downtown, which would really help to improve its walkability, its character, and also maybe ameliorate any of the real detriments from this MBA communities, to the extent that any of the litigation fails. I mean, I guess there are some serious questions regarding the home rule charter and whether this is really mandatory and whatnot. But I mean, they've added additional funding sources as the stick, and I'm not sure where the carrot is, but the stick is getting thicker and heavier. So
It is.
and this is also something that we need to explore with Wenham.
Well, I was gonna say, I think it is critical that we have some kind of liaison, excuse me, with Wenham before the 28th, because if the question comes up, we don't want to be caught flat-footed.
Yeah, yeah.
We would be at this point.
Did you hear back from the planner in Wenham, Patrick?
No, I haven't. I
Okay.
sent that last
Yeah, we might
week.
need to follow up on that. So yes, I mean, we're really, the planning board has been thinking about this, and I don't actually see any real conflict between a form-based code for the downtown and the MBTA communities.
Well, it
law.
should be, I mean, that's gonna be something that's gonna be critical, that the form base goes beyond just simply downtown, because,
Well, it would extend out to the Winthrop School and government.
yeah, and which is not in the HDC purview, jurisdiction.
No, right,
so.
yeah. So we're really thinking about that.
Would you ever rezone that area to be part of the?
Well, the MBTA communities is a rezoning. It contemplates a zone within a half a mile of the MBTA station where there's, as of right, subject to site plan review, development for multi-family housing. And
Yeah.
I've been looking into this law. I don't purport to be an expert. John Witten, who has helped us with our Browns Hill Overlay District, is going to be helping us look into this MBTA communities as well. But there are certain things that the towns aren't required to do, and they are not required to adjust their infrastructure. And our town's infrastructure is such that
Non-existent.
we're limited. And at some point, Route 1A could be turned into a 4-lane highway to accommodate all the traffic from 1,000 new dwelling units as contemplated between Hamilton and Wenham. It's almost preposterous. I hate to say that, but it's preposterous. I can't make a left coming to this meeting from Asbury Street onto 1A. It takes a while. So just add,
Yeah.
our whole town would lose its
Gotta be a light
character.
there.
It would lose its entire character.
There's gotta be coordinated with
anyway,
the fire
so-
department and all the rest
Oh,
of this
yeah,
stuff, so
it's
we can get
just-
stuff
yeah,
out.
There's so much to consider. So,
Yeah, so Marnie, if you do want to do that, that's fine. Just send me an email. We can,
yeah, and I'll coordinate with Patrick and we'll get this.
sure.
done.
And I don't know whether you saw the Globe editorial the other day on the whole Braintree situation, which was originally, 550 units in the South Bay parking lot. And then the neighbors all rose in revolution.
Right,
And,
that's right.
and said they cut it back down from 450 down to 350. And it didn't stop anything, and now they've scrapped it. And the editorial in the Globe was how selfish of Braintree. Well, we're looking at 750 units in this town with the MBTA thing. I mean, that's a transformational move
Right.
in this town.
Right.
And they're talking about, well, we need housing here in this area of Massachusetts. Okay, well and good. I don't think it's necessarily selfish that you don't want your town
Destroy
utterly,
your town.
utterly transformed.
Well,
It's
you know, Bill
ridiculous.
Wheaton had a really excellent point, and he said that the MBTA Communities Initiative is predicated on people commuting into Boston. But that paradigm really shifted after COVID, and people
Heavily.
aren't commuting into Boston anymore. So there are a ton of issues, and I'm not aware of the status of any litigation, but it would.
Oh, no, there is litigation right now, and I had it all in my head the last meeting,
There
and
were
and
4
it's gone.
communities that didn't comply with the initial requirements
Right.
of submitting, preliminary documentation. But I don't know
Well-
of any communities that have actually commenced litigation.
No, there are suits involved right now. And I can't remember which town it is, that they're out west of
It's a small
Boston.
town, I remembered,
Yeah,
yeah.
Relatively
well-
small town.
Yep, yep.
Out near Stowe, I think, or
Oh,
someplace
okay.
like
Well,
that.
yeah.
Patrick, we can reach out to one and
Yeah.
just kind of coordinate, see what's
Yeah,
going on.
we'll-
I don't know that it comes into the 28th meeting, but it's definitely something
Well,
that's done.
we just need to be ready,
Yeah,
all I'm
yeah,
saying.
absolutely.
Contingency plan.
So we'll get specific updates on that from Wenham as well, on how they're addressing it, and where they're at with their plan as well, so. All right, any other new business or anything else, Tyler, from your end? I know you had said that about wrapped it up. You're gonna get us stuff, at least a week prior. We'll go through it, have a chance to ask questions. We'll show up about an hour earlier just to make sure we're good to go. We're gonna, do reach out things through the town, through our individuals' emails, get a URL out there, and fill up a room.
That all sounds good to me. I have nothing else.
I have one other thing, Tyler. Please note, the town is Hamilton, not South Hamilton. South Hamilton is a post office. And
Yes,
that's all.
I've read about the history of that. That is.
There's no
yes,
such
I'm
place
aware
on
of
the
that
map
fact.
as Hamilton, as South Hamilton.
Yep.
Please,
Yeah.
'cause in our own reports, I see back and forth, South Hamilton this, South Hamilton that. It is one thing, it is the town of Hamilton.
But the legal address is South Hamilton.
Yeah.
No,
So
no,
weird.
the 1982, it can be a post office the South Hamilton Post Office, but the town is Hamilton,
Correct, you're
from
correct.
1793 and unchanged to date.
Let it be written, let it be done.
Yes.
Yes.
Review the homework.
Understood.
So I have 3 items for the homework. Reviewing the materials that Tyler will distribute in anticipation of the October community meeting, and submit any comments back to the committee. Number
Correct.
2, attend the meeting, October 21. And number 3.
28.
28. Yep.
28.
I double check that.
Yeah, 1 PM to 3 PM.
Yeah, but we are showing up at noon.
Yep.
And then the only other question I would ask is whether we want to provide any kind of beverages or.
Yeah,
food.
I'll talk to Jim about that. Last time,
I think
I
we
was,
should keep it real simple, though.
Cookies.
Because I don't think we have the wherewithal to go wild.
Just like
on
waters and
this.
cookies, if there's coffee.
Cash
good.
cookies
bar.
and coffee.
Cash bar, right?
Mm.
Well,
I
apple
was
cider.
thinking
That'll
like
boost
cookies.
attendance.
Water, apple cider, we could keep it real simple.
So the October community meeting, Saturday, October 28th. Arrive by noon if you can. And then number 3 was review the draft of the master plan document to be distributed by Tyler in anticipation of the next committee meeting
On the 16th.
on November 16th.
6:30, where? Is this room decommissioned at that point, or?
Not supposed to be.
Okay.
If it is, I will notify people, but as far as I know, it's still gonna be operable.
Okay. I mean, I think there are,
Okay.
if in case though, there are options, right? The COA, the library. The homestead's not an option, right?
Not,
I think that'll be filled at that point.
The COA would be a great option. I happen to know the
But
director
we'll plan on
down
here, but
there. Yeah,
we'll have another option if needed.
Yeah,
But as of now, it'll be here.
Scott, sounds good.
All right, so I'll entertain a
Okay.
motion to,
So moved.
All in favor to adjourn?
Second.
Thank you, everybody. It's,
All right. Have a great night, everyone.
Thank you,
8:10 p.m.
Tyler.
Bill, I have a question for you.
Clock's off. What's up, brother?
Clock's off. Yeah, no, this is not.